We're all hearing it, right? AI coding tools are supposed to be this magic bullet, making developers faster than ever. But is that what's really happening? The truth is a little more complicated and honestly pretty surprising. So let's get into it. So, the big question on everyone's mind is AI actually making software developers faster? You see, all this excitement, all this hype, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It really started with one huge, headline grabbing number.
Yep, that 56% speed up claim. This was the promise of AI assistants that got everyone so excited.
And there it is, 56%. This number blew up, and for good reason. It came from a big study in 2023. We're talking Microsoft, GitHub, and MIT. They got a bunch of developers, mostly on the newer side, to build a web server. And the results were, well, staggering. The group with AI, they finished in just over an hour. The group without it, almost 3 hours. I mean, that's a massive difference. And it's what really kicked off the whole AI productivity frenzy.
Okay, but hold on. Just when everyone was convinced AI was the ultimate speed boost, a different study came along and, well, it threw a huge wrench in the works. We're talking about the 19% slowdown surprise. So, how can you get two results that are polar opposites? It all comes down to the setup. You see, that first study, the one with the big speed up, that was in a lab. It was mostly beginners building something totally new from scratch. The second study, the one that found a slowdown, that was the opposite. It looked at experienced pros working on their own messy, real-world projects. And believe me, that change in context, it changed everything.
And the result? A 19% slowdown. Can you believe that? Instead of getting faster, the pros using AI took longer. This just completely flips the script on what we thought we knew. So, what in the world is going on?
And this, to me, is where things get really wild. It's this paradox of feeling fast while actually going slow. Okay, so before they even started, the developers in that second study were asked, hey, how much faster do you think AI will make you? And they were pretty optimistic. On average, they figured they'd get a nice 24% speed boost. But here's the absolute kicker. Remember, they were actually 19% slower. And when they were asked after the fact how they did, they still thought they'd been 20% faster. Their perception was completely, totally out of sync with reality. The clock was telling them one thing, but their brain was telling them another. They felt productive, even when they weren't. So why the disconnect? Why do we feel fast when we're actually slow? This comment from a developer on Reddit just hits the nail on the head. It says, it reduces cognitive load. I don't care if it takes a little longer. And that's the key. AI makes the hard parts of coding feel easier. It takes some of that mental weight off your shoulders. And we humans, we tend to mistake that feeling of ease for actual speed. All right, so if AI is saving us time on some things, where did all that extra time go? It's a great question. The answer is that while AI helps with some tasks, it actually adds entirely new ones to your plate. This chart really breaks it down for us. Look, the time spent actually writing code and debugging, yeah, that went down. That's a win. But, and this is a huge but, that saved time was completely wiped out by all the new stuff you have to do. Things like crafting the perfect prompt, just sitting there waiting for the AI to spit something out, and, this is the big one, very carefully reviewing every single line of code it gives you. All those little things add up, and they ended up costing more time than was saved. So what does all this mean for the future? What's the bigger picture here for developers? Because it's about a lot more than just a stopwatch. Well, it leads to something that people are starting to call the wicked talent problem. See, the data is pretty clear. AI assistants give the biggest boost to novice developers. And that sounds great on the surface, right? But here's the danger. If you rely on a tool for everything, you might never learn the deep fundamentals yourself. There's a real risk we could end up with a generation of developers who can't solve tough problems without their AI crutch, and that could create a huge talent gap in the future. Which really brings us to the final, critical question you have to ask yourself. Is that trade-off worth it? Is the feeling of productivity more valuable than actually being productive? AI can definitely make the work feel less draining, there's no doubt about that. But if it comes at the cost of your actual speed and maybe even your long-term skill growth, where do you draw the line? That's a tough question, and it's one every single developer is going to have to answer.